you today? Okay. All right. So today I just kind of want to do like an overview of the history of sign language band and then how we got deaf access. Now I have covered all of this before. So I don't want to do like another thing where because in another live stream, I literally did a reaction as well to all of this too. So I'm going to show you the same content in a way, but I'm not going to cover it in the same way. I'm not going to do the same reaction to it. Like, I can't decide right now, like as I'm doing this. It's like I want to play some of the videos to show you what I'm talking about and the sources, but part of me doesn't want to do another reaction to them, so I might just talk about it and show you the playlist, but I might end up playing some of the videos. We're just going to see what happens as I ramble. But we're going to look over My Deaf History Lesson videos because the whole point of the My Deaf History Lesson videos is it gives you an overview of the history of deaf culture and deaf issues. And in that, I discuss the history of how sign language got banned as well as some of the key events that have allowed us to get accessibility since then. Um, and then after that, I just want to take a look at my book club playlist. So that has two authors and three readings in there. Well, more than three videos, but three things that I read. Um, so there's two things that I read from Alexander Graham Bell. The Memoir upon the Formation of a Deaf Variety of the Human Race, and Marriage and Address to the Deaf. Um, that those two books I did live readings of, as well as to John F. Stanton's Breaking the Sound Barriers about the tools, technology, and laws that helped deaf people get accommodations in law and the history with that. So we're going to go over we're not going to rewatch, I don't think too much of that, if any, but we are going to go over all of those three live streams and kind of just discuss the importance of those people and events in regards to the history of sign language and getting deaf access. Um, and then we're going to recap a 7-hour live stream that I did. We're not going to watch it. We're just going to talk about it for a second. I'm going to recap where and how that live stream also relates to the history of the sign language band, getting deaf access, and point you to some of the sources that you might find some useful information from. So yeah, um, so fucking what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna roll my intro and then we're gonna do this bitch. Thank you so much for joining me today. Hi, my name is Lexi, aka Deaf Child. I'm born deaf, hard of hearing. My team was one of the top teams between 2020 and 2024 in New Orleans and Louisiana. I began doing business as Deaf Child in 2013, marketing 2011, and sales 2009. I've earned 50 plus certifications in marketing and sales, and I have my Bachelor of Science from Loyola University, New Orleans, with a music industry studies major and a business administration minor. Visit my site at noladeafchild.com. Okay, so first of all, the My Deaf History Lesson playlist is linked in the description of this video. And each of these videos has sources for what I'm speaking on when I speak on it. So I'm not just like telling you something that I don't have like a reason to believe it. You know what I mean? Regardless, you can think whatever you want, come to your own conclusions, blah, blah, blah. I'm not telling you how to think. I'm just telling you how I think and why. You know what I mean? So, in here, we talk about, in My Deaf History Lesson Part 1, take it all the way back to Hebrew law, Aristotle, and Socrates. And I discuss where deaf issues began back in ancient times, and specific wording that was normalized back then that became some of the philosophies and ideologies used to perpetuate harm in the future that set precedent for other things that we saw perpetuated through colonialism. Um, in my Deaf History Lesson 2, I talk about the formation of ASL being rooted in cultural genocide and cultural erasure of Native people and Native signs, and cultural assimilation and eradication, you know? And then in my Deaf History Lesson Part 3, we discuss Black Deaf segregation. Um, and these are things that contribute to, deaf not having access, and to where, because we're divided in numbers as well, it's easier to oppress all deaf when um, intersectional discrimination keeps us from uniting to better fight for our rights, right? Um, and so then we get into Alexander Graham Bell, our dear friend, regarding eugenics and oralism from him, and how it started, I believe, with his father. And he had a deaf mother and a deaf wife, and he still discriminated against deaf people. We discussed how he was able to use taking credit for the telephone in order to perpetuate this oppression and fund things that he was doing, as well as at the Milan Conference of 1880, Alexander Graham Bell was given 3 days to speak, and deaf people were only given 3 hours. And he was huge in getting sign language banned. And the Milan Conference of 1880 is where sign language was banned. And that was in a worldwide, that took place worldwide for people that were attending and involved in that. And fucking it impacted deaf all over the world. It really did. But it particularly, like, well, as I understand, quote unquote, American history, this is what I know about how it impacted us here, is that, he fucking was able to effectively remove deaf people from all the employment that we had. He was able to effectively take away our ability to have equal access in society. Um, let's see. I'm getting a little. Okay, sorry. I paused there for a second. I had a little thing saying that it was disconnected, and then I was like, shit, what the fuck should I do? And then it said reconnected, and I was like, fuck it. I guess I don't have to do anything. Anyway, fucking. So yeah, I think I was bitching about AGB. Um, so AGB fucking was instrumental in getting sign language removed, and that all of these events leading up to it, you know what I'm saying, is, in my opinion, where they kind of divide and conquer in a way in order to profit off of us. Um, And so when it comes to getting access after this, things did get worse before they got better. So he contributed to the prohibition of deaf marriage, as well as to deaf sterilization laws. Um, and fucking it wasn't until the 1960s where this dude named, I don't know if I'm saying his name right. I think it's Stocko. It's Stokoe. I don't know how the fuck to say it. I've been saying Stocko, or is it Stocko? I don't know. But fucking that dude in the 1960s, he was able to help get sign language restored because he was advocating for it to be recognized as an actual fucking language, and he was instrumental in getting it recognized within the colonial constructs of America. So fucking he did help a lot with that shit, even if that's like how regardless of how I feel about hearing people controlling deaf issues, that was a good thing. Um, and so, yeah, and then from there, I take it into modern contemporary times in terms of, um, some of the social issues with deaf identity and disability and, different ways we think on that. And we'll talk about that a little more in just a second. And fucking, as well as, into more contemporary issues regarding police brutality, poverty, DV, accessibility, transportation, healthcare, education, access, as well as modern laws and social movements in the last 50 to 60 years that helped us get access. And so these are the things that it ends up discussing. So yeah, highly recommend giving this playlist a whirl. Check it out. It's linked in the description of this video. And the My Deaf History lesson is really going to take you through the history of sign language band and getting deaf access. You want to check that out. And my sources are in there as well. And this is just kind of like a little summary, a little 10-minute summary of these 38 videos. Each video is about a minute. So I just kind of, give you a summary of 38 minutes there. Now, moving on to our book club playlist. In the book club playlist, at the time of the making of this video, who knows what it will evolve to, I have my readings for Alexander Graham Bell's Memoir upon the Formation of a Deaf Variety of the Human Race, as well as his Marriage and Address to the Deaf. Both of these were made as speeches as well as published into books. And then I also did a reading of John F. Stanton's article, Breaking the Sound Barriers. So it's going to autoplay when I click on this, but I don't want to actually watch this. Hold up. Okay. So what I just kind of want to discuss is like an overview here with the chapters, just kind of going over the timestamps a little bit. So this one was actually the very first live stream I ever did on YouTube. It kind of, these two are probably, I think all of my videos really do need improvement, and I see where I could be doing better, but I feel like what I'm processing is important in Deaf Journey, and so that's why I'm choosing to do so in this way. But fucking, so this one really sucked even more though. If you think what you're seeing now is bad, like this one sucked even more because I wasn't paying attention and I accidentally fucking set up the screen wrong in OBS to where it wasn't properly showing and I didn't realize until after and I was like, oh fuck. And the second one isn't much better, but by the third one I kind of figured it out. But so like as I've been going, I've been having like all these issues. First I couldn't even get the things in the right order, and then everything was pixelated, and I've been having these volume issues, and it's just like one thing after another. But I feel like I'm improving as I go, and that's what counts, right? So, in here I go over, in the timestamps there are I read each chapter, and at the end of each chapter I also provide a conclusion on each chapter, and then at the end I do a summary of the entire live stream, and I did that for part 1 and part 2. And then, but the whole point of Memoir upon the Formation of a Deaf Variety of the Human Race was he was using this in it. He was basically saying that, you know what, we're just gonna watch the summaries real quick of these videos. Or you know what, actually, I think actually I might not do a summary because I feel kind of crazy. I apologize. But in here, let me just show you the fucking book itself. How about that? Um, okay. So here's the types of things it says. For example, it says, let's zoom in here. Those who believe as I do that the production of a defective race of human beings would be a great calamity to the world will examine carefully the causes that lead to the intermarriage of the deaf with the object of applying a remedy. Let us then consider how we might proceed to form a race of deaf mutes if we desire to do so. And let us compare the steps of the process with those that have been adopted by philanthropists and others from the purest and most disinterested motives to ameliorate the condition of the deaf and dumb. How would we commence? With such an object in view, would it not be of importance to separate deaf mutes from hearing persons as early in life as possible and make them live together in the same place, carefully guarding them from the possibility of making acquaintances among hearing persons of their own age? This is what we do. We take deaf children away from their homes and place them in institutions by the hundred, keeping them there from early childhood and the commencement of adult life. So first of all, he's calling us dumb. We're not dumb. And second of all, he's talking about how they would basically force deaf kids to go into these deaf schools back in the day. Um, he literally admits it. We take deaf children away from their homes. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't by choice. Sometimes it would be like, but most of the time, no. Like they would talk it into it, you know. Then they would say it would be also be important to promote social intercourse among them in adult life so that the boys and girls of former years should meet again as men and women. We might, for instance, hold periodical reunions of former peoples at the institutions. This is again is what we do. Okay, hold on. You're like, what the fuck does this mean? Wait a minute. First of all, y'all should go read this whole thing yourself or watch my videos on it, okay? Um, Now, it starts, and then it says, another method calculated to foster class feeling among the deaf and dumb would be to provide them with newspapers and periodicals of their own, which should make a specialty of personals relating to deaf and dumb. He keeps calling us deaf and dumb. We are not dumb. Newspapers that should give full accounts of the deaf-mute conventions and reunions and keep their readers informed of the movements of deaf-mutes, their marriages, deaths, etc. Okay. And then it says the methods specified above, while they serve to facilitate social intercourse between adult deaf mutes, necessarily prevent them from also associating with hearing person. As there are 1,500 hearing person for every one deaf mute, it seems difficult to formulate any plan which would restrict their choice of partners in life to deaf mutes alone or to the hearing members of deaf mute family. Let us consider how this could be accomplished. And then it keeps going through the ways they think that we are doing well, right? Now, and then it goes into fallacies about deafness, or whatever. I'm not even going to go into that because he's the one perpetuating fallacies. I had my commentary on that in the other live streams. Hold on, there's something I'm looking for to show you. Wait a minute. Okay. And then it says, I think we will all agree that the evidence shows a tendency to the formation of a deaf variety of the human race in America. What remedial measures can be taken to lessen or check this tendency, we shall consider the subject under two heads: repressive, preventative measures. So, hold on. Now let this marinate. He had just been saying right here the production of a defective race of human beings. After he was saying that he believes sexual selection is at work among the deaf, tending to produce a deaf variety of the human race. Then he says, those who believe as I do that the production of a defective race of human beings would be a great calamity to the world We'll examine carefully the causes that lead to the intermarriages of the deaf with the object of applying a remedy. Then he's listing what he believes causes deaf marriage. Even if he's wrong, this is what he thinks causes deaf marriage. This is what he's listing, right? This is what he's talking about, right? And then he says, okay, are you with me? And then he says, I think we all will agree that the evidence shows a tendency to the formation of a deaf variety of the human race in America. What remedial measures can be taken or lessen to check this tendency, we shall reconsider under the subject under two heads: repressive, preventative measures. Repressive measures. The first thought that occurs in this connection is that the intermarriage of deaf mutes might be forbidden by legislative enactment. Guess what happened? Guess what happened? Anyway, and then it says, hold on, stay with me now. Stay with me. And then let's keep going. It says preventative measures. The most promising method of lessening the evil appears to lie in the adoption of preventative measures. In our search for such measures, we should be guided by the following principles. Determine the causes that promote intermarriage among the deaf and remove them. Including this, he says, among the causes that contribute to bring about this preference, we may note, 1, segregation for the purposes of education. So he's literally admitting he uses segregation for the purpose of for the purposes of education to bring about the preference that he wants to remove causes that promote intermarriage of deaf people. Let this all sit in. Are you with me? Are you with me? Are you with me? Now, here's why this matters. Hold up. Then, next, and this is Alexander Graham Bell, by the way, ATB, your precious telephone dipshit. And he didn't actually invent the phone, but that's a different story. Fucking, so, this dip fuck. Alright. Then in reading Marriage, an address to the deaf, he gave a speech to deaf people and he said, I never tried to interfere with your marriage. What are you talking about? You don't know what you're talking about. Y'all are making this up. I swear to God, I'm not fucking lying. I'm not fucking lying. Okay? He really did this. He really did this. Please go read this. Process it. You need to understand how much these bitches got me fucked up. Now, anyway, so, regards to the sign language ban and getting deaf access, this is Alexander Graham Bell, the one that wrote these things, said these things, published these things, promoted and did these things, is the one that was instrumental in the sign language ban. That's how it all connects. It's all connected. I sound so fucking crazy. I swear to God, I'm not crazy. Fucking, alright. Anyway, so, moving on. I'm not gonna fucking, alright, y'all gotta go read the damn thing. It's all linked in descriptions of these videos. Anyway, so, then, in Breaking the Sound Barriers from John F. Stanton, he's a deaf appellate, is it appellate or appellate? Y'all do not know how to say this word, okay? He's a deaf lawyer with the U.S. Department of Justice. And fucking, I forgot what he does, but he does something fancy. Alright? He wrote an article called Breaking the Sound Barriers: How the Americans with Disabilities Act and Technology Have Enabled Deaf Lawyers to Succeed. So, you can go read the actual article here, or you can watch my readings of the article linked in the description of this video in the book club playlist. And in here, this shows you the whole history of how we got legal access as a deaf community. So from the deaf awareness, from the my deaf history lesson playlist, and from reading what's in the book club live stream reading list playlist. Shit, I can't speak. You know what the fuck I'm saying, right? From those two playlists alone, you will get the entire history of sign language ban and getting deaf access. And at the beginning of this live stream, that was my attempt to sum it all up for you in a nutshell. You know what I'm saying? And then the last thing I want to show you. So this is a 7-hour live long stream. I actually, if you're interested, I really do recommend checking it out because you will get a lot more information on deaf issues from like the perspective of understanding some different social issues in deaf community with conflicts, as well as understanding different deaf perspectives on identity, if the difference between deaf and disability and ableism and all of that. So in here, I have over 170 sources linked in the description of this video. And some of the ones that will be particularly relevant regarding history of sign language ban and getting deaf access. Accidentally just fucking I don't even know how I did this. I just kind of like closed out of all of my shit at the same time. Anyway, life is hard. But fucking so the American Sign Language and Plains Indian Sign Language and the hidden history of hand taught and the erasing Native American culture and the Native American Indian Sign Language Guide, the hidden history of hand taught, the Native American Sign Language that predated ASL by centuries. Um, so these four are going to give you the history of the sign language band where it initially was rooted. So the sign language band comes in two forms, right? There's the sign language band that all deaf refer to as the Milan Conference of 1880. But there's also the sign language ban against Native people, because the formation of American Sign Language is based on the cultural genocide, cultural erasure, cultural eradication of Native hand talk, and cultural assimilation. Remember that. American Sign Language would not exist without hand talk, without Native signs. American Sign Language includes indigenous signs in it, okay? Now, the first sign language ban under the colonial construct of quote-unquote America was white people preventing deaf people from using their own signs. Please check out these links, okay? Linked in the description. This video is linked in the description of the video of this video, and it has over 170 sources linked in the comments. And in here, this has a brief history of American Sign Language in this blog. Highly recommend that. It goes over language loss. This had the hidden history of hand talk. Definitely need to check this out. The cultural relevance of hand talk, Native American Sign Language, the 10 stages of American genocide PDF. I cite the source for you to Google it because I had downloaded it to my device from search and it's a PDF, but I go over that in the video. And if you Google it, you can download the PDF yourself, I believe. And so I do my best to tell you how to go find that. And so then I also fall into many other things regarding the concept of ableism, deaf identity, and diagnosis. But if you go through here, so there is a lot of things regarding discrimination in deafness in here as well. But because you can't explain why it's discrimination without explaining the history, there's also a good bit of history in here too, such as about the American with Disabilities Act and things like that. And so that's why it's important, go check this out. Like, this has 10 years of research summed up in here on deafness. And I highly recommend checking it out. You're going to get a lot of information on the sign language ban, information on the history of how we got deaf access, along with why different deaf people feel different ways about deafness based on different situations, which have led us to have different perspectives. So this Deaf Awareness Month, we've been talking a lot about obstacles, things that stopped us from having access. So today we've been talking about the timeline of reiterating that these obstacles exist and showing you in the timeline where those obstacles are, but also discussing the accessibility too in terms of, okay, well, here's the historical movements that did allow us to get access, and here's the article by this attorney that outlines how deaf legal access became about, and looking at those things is where we can see, okay, we can take these lessons and learn how to better advocate for ourselves, look at what worked to make social progress in order to hopefully continue social change and social progress. So, yeah, I'm going to wrap up now. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I hope you have a great day. I appreciate you. And yeah, bye. Thanks for watching. Join the loyalty program at noladeafchild.com/loyalty and check in during live streams to get points for rewards.